Hello and welcome to Spotlight. This is the show where we give different people and communities the chance to share their stories, projects and journeys. Now tonight's programme is all about one of the most talked about sports in 2020. Cheerleading has been thrust into the spotlight recently on Netflix with the popular documentary Cheer. It's also been recognised recently as an Olympic sport. When you think about cheer, most people I think immediately think about pom-poms and glamour. But as I think you'll see tonight, there's actually a huge amount of acrobatic skill involved. Now our guests tonight started out in 2002. They've had many names including the Calthorpe Cougars and Mighty Maidens. Coming together from many different backgrounds to learn skills in tumbling, stunting, dance and cheer, they've performed in many festivals, parades and competitions. Now they love being enthusiastic, performing stunning acrobatics in the air and dazzling audiences. Their focus is to inspire young people to set goals, aim high and become great team leaders. So tonight I'm very happy to welcome Camden's very own cheerleading squad, London Infinity Elite. So with us tonight, we have the founder and leader of London Infinity Elite, Valerie. A very good evening, Valerie. Now, for those of you that don't know about the world of cheer, can you tell us a little bit more about who Infinity Elite are?
Yes, we started off in 2002. One of my daughters wanted to be on a cheerleading team, and it wasn't really that developed yet in the UK. I mean, there were a few teams out, but it wasn't that big of as it is now. So because of what I saw was in London, I thought, no, I'm not going to let you join one of the teams that are out because it was wasn't a professional cheerleading or wasn't competitive cheerleading. It was just kind of like after school club. And one of my cousins came from America here and she was on an all-star team. So she came and said, oh, let's try doing cheerleading here. And we started our own team. And I was getting people from all over London wanting to be part of it because there wasn't that many teams around. And the bigger teams, like Ascension Eagles, that are outside of London, you had to live in the area to be a part of it. So Anjali found us by looking on the internet because she was looking for a cheerleading team. Stephanie also always wanted to be a cheerleader, so she searched us out and found that we were in central London. And I just started building my team like that. Once my cousin left, I've had all these young ladies that really wanted to do cheer. So I got qualified because my daughters were still quite young. And once they got to a certain age, I got them qualified. And I just kind of overtook developing the organization. And they were the leaders in coaching and doing the rest of it while I just organized everyone.
Fantastic. I mean, Valerie, how did it all begin for you? You know, how did you get into cheer yourself?
I mean, I did cheerleading and majorettes when I was in America, but it wasn't at the level as it is now. It was more like high school cheerleading and Pop Warner cheerleading, like recreational cheer. Now it's a sport, and the skills that they need to develop to compete at that level is, I mean, they were practicing 3 to 4 times a week and developing different skills in dance, tumble, and especially when we first started, tumbling wasn't that big of a deal, but now that's a key element to getting to go to Worlds in Florida. So, which is also another disappointment with this coronavirus. Worlds got canceled, and so they have a lot of young athletes that didn't get to fulfill their dreams because they worked so hard all year to get there, and it didn't happen. So yeah, a lot of disappointment, but they're really sticking together just to see what the next year will bring.
Absolutely. I mean, I've looked through what you guys do, and I have to say it's super inspiring. It looks absolutely amazing. We've actually got an older video from 2008 that might bring back some memories for you. So let's take a quick look at that now. So, Valerie, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's clear that cheerleading is not just all about the dance and the pom-poms and the glamour, which is obviously, that is a big part of it, but a huge part of it is definitely about this sort of the acrobatics and how much physical skill the girls need, and the guys as well, to do this. What are you most proud of seeing your guys go through with this? Because it really is quite a journey that they have to go through to do this and put this show on.
Well, when I first started, like I said, tumbling wasn't a big deal at the moment, but we started working with a gymnastics instructor called Theo Lake, and he has this, and it was very hard to get a gymnastics instructor to teach them the skills of tumbling, because there's kind of it's not so much now, but back then it was really hard for gymnastics to accept cheerleading. They had the stereotype of the pom-poms and all that. So this instructor really gave my athletes the base of how to work on their core strength. So seeing them come back every week for the torture that they had, I mean, stretching them and working their core is quite a lot of hard work. And they would come back every Sunday. And I was thinking, I'm amazed, because when I first started, I thought these people aren't going to come back. They're being tortured. I mean, they're like, some of them were crying, and I was just like, oh. But next Sunday, they would come back with their muscles sore, thinking, no, they wanted to succeed. So each skill they would get was, for me, it was like your child first walking. They would come and look at what I can do, and they were amazed themselves. So watching them progress through the years, because a lot of them stayed with me from, some started from 5, some started from 12, some started from 14, but they stuck with it. And to see them achieve and later go to university and do the same thing, I felt like it was an extension of what I taught them.
That's amazing. because and the thing that I found as I've started to look through and start to understand cheer a bit myself is that you've got all these different roles within the team. And some of the different roles involve different support. There are different roles within the team, and one of them is the flyer, which goes at the top. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, everybody wants to be the flyer, and they think that is, I mean, you get highlighted a lot because you're the one getting thrown and flipped, but you need the bases to be the core strength of that flyer. So in order to have a great flyer, you need the 3 bases or 2 bases on the bottom to make sure that they feel safe. The flyer has to rely a lot on a base and trust them. So although we didn't stick with one set of groups sticking together, we wanted them to try different bases, because sometimes you get a flyer saying, no, I'm not going to fly with anyone else. But then, you never know if that base is always going to be there. So you have to make sure that they are used to going with different people. So every part of that stunt group is important. The flyer is highlighted because she's the one who's doing all the tricks and showing, the facials and stuff like that. But it's because of those bases on the bottom that she gets to be highlighted in such a positive way, because she can only do that by having confidence in the people that are supporting her on the bottom.
I see. Right. Brilliant. Because I believe now we've got one of your flyers in the green room with us today, and that's Saren. I think I'm right in saying that. So, Saren, I've seen some of your acrobatics on Instagram, and to me they look absolutely amazing. Shall we take a look at those?
Yeah. Thank you.
So, Sarah, it's really great to have you on the programme tonight. Tell me, how did you get into cheer? I mean, how did you get into that?
I actually started at uni. So I went in, and when you have open day and you get all those different sports and like drama clubs and everything. And initially I kind of joined thinking it would be like Bring It On, until I realised it's like the complete opposite. I feel like cheer on Netflix is such a perfect kind of well documented. It's so well put together that's finally something we can show the world what it actually is. So yeah, I joined via a university team, and then I went to a open gym, and that's where I met Lexi and Valerie and everyone. And it was from there, after like years of training, I then joined a team with them.
Brilliant. And I know yesterday, because we had a quick chat about this, and you were saying that you'd maybe suffer some injuries and things, obviously doing those acrobatics. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Sorry, could you just repeat that?
Yeah, of course I can. We were talking yesterday about, obviously, within the acrobatics, to me looks quite dangerous. Did you suffer any injuries or anything as part of your flying?
Yeah, all the time. I would never forget on my first year, a day, literally on the day of competition, as I was in warm up, I snapped, well, it's a slight tear of my hamstring. And I still, I guess when you've got all that adrenaline, you carry on. And it wasn't until after, I was like 6 weeks in crutches. But I think you do get injured a lot, and no one kind of sees it because, you know, when you compete and when you upload videos and train, it's all kind of smiles and glitter and glam and kind of bold and performing, but you don't actually see how hard it is kind of back in the gym. And I think a lot of it, you know, a lot of it falls on also trusting your bases, which Valerie mentioned earlier. And I feel if you don't have kind of supported bases, then you don't really have much to work with. And I think when you do have those injuries as well, where you feel so kind of passionate and you don't really want to let anyone down on the team, where you would be advised to rest, I think everyone in this chat as an athlete would agree that an athlete would never truly take the time to rest their body to fully heal. Like, it just doesn't happen. You always want to get back and carry on and do more. So I think injuries are a really big thing, and it happens all the time, but you just have to carry on.
I'm glad you mentioned the word athlete there, because for me, this is what you guys are. There's the dance element, but you are athletes. It's really strenuous on your bodies from the look of it, and you obviously put a huge amount of work in. And with that kind of comes a bit of responsibility, I feel. And I know you talked a little bit about how people look up to you, and the younger kids look up to you, and the amount of work you've had to put in to get to where you are. Could you tell me a bit about what it's like to be that role model for people?
Yeah, I think as a whole, all the older kids and on like the higher teams, everyone, you automatically do become like a role model to the younger kids. And I remember when I was in university, I would go to these competitions, and where at the time we were only on a level 1 team. So where we'd go to these competitions and watch all the national teams kind of perform, I'd be like, wow, you don't realise, but those people on the mat soon, like not long after, become you. You become that person that someone's like, wow, I want to be able to do that. And I think it's also quite, in a sense, it's really inspiring within yourself, because it shows you, it kind of proves to you that you do have kind of people who always want to do better and always want to work up and always kind of see you. You may not feel like you're that person, but to other people you are. And I think within the older cheer teams and like the higher level you are at, especially Team England, you have young children kind of looking up to you, thinking, oh my God, in a few years, hopefully that will be me, or in a year or in a few months, like I want to be able to do that. So you have to always hold that ground to kind of let them know that anything is possible.
Brilliant. That's so cool, because it's you really can be that. And I think you only have to look at what you've achieved there in the video, and what the other guys who I'm going to come to in a moment and talk to, because what you've been able to achieve, not just as yourself but as a team together, it's really I think it's quite special, actually, and possibly a little bit underrated, I think. And basically, I mean, until I saw the Netflix documentary, I hadn't understood. Sorry, guys, Sarah.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to also talk about is, sorry, yeah, I was just going to add, I think that's so vital, like in all the teams, like Valerie's team, everyone's team, you don't ever get kind of, oh, it's just about me and I want everyone else to fail. Like within a cheer team, no one wants anyone to do bad. Like before you get on that competition floor, you're praying that everyone comes as one. Because if one person falls, that brings the whole team down. It's not one person falls and you go up. It's if you all fall, you fall together. If you rise together. Like, I think that's something that's also so special about being on a team, because it teaches you so many different things. And especially as a young person kind of growing, you learn how to be disciplined. You learn how to work within a team. You learn how to like build all these skills. And you also you do get mental blocks and times that you think, oh my God, like if you had a bad fall, you think, oh my God, I don't want to do that again. And then you know that your bases are behind you to keep pushing you and to remind you that it's okay, that they will be there to catch you. So you have to break it down and slowly get back into it. But it really is about team. And I think that's something that I really adjusted to so well, and I really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm going to jump across and say hi to Lexi, because I think, am I right in saying, Sarah, you've cheered with Lexi together?
Yes, we competed together as well. She was my base at one point.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. Well, Lexi, I mean, maybe you could tell me a bit about what it's like to base for Sarah there.
Well, yeah, me and Saren haven't always been together. I joined Ascension Eagles back in probably 2012, and then she ended up joining when we first decided to go to level 5. So it was very new for everyone because we'd never been level 5 like already as it was. And then also I feel like when you have a new flyer, you have to adjust to how they fly, because everyone has different techniques and different weird things that they do that you have to get used to. So I was thinking, oh, Saren's done this before, so it's going to be like a piece of cake. It's going to be so easy. But obviously there were a lot of things that we had to adapt to try and get it like with each other, because she was obviously used to partner stunting. So that's normally with 2 people, and she always has like 2 guys who are like much stronger, bigger than myself. So yeah, I think it's just adapting and trying to work with someone new is always a challenge. But once you get it in the end, then it's quite simple, and it turns to be like really fun.
Brilliant. I mean, just to go back to this idea of level 5 and things, this is something that I don't know much about. Maybe you could tell me a bit about the different levels and what's involved with going through those.
Yeah, so in cheerleading, it's from level 1 to level 7 now. The rules have changed, so it's a bit more confusing. But so level 1, basically all the levels, it's like different skills. So level 1 can be like tumbling. You'd have to have like a back walkover, front walkover. That's all you can do at that level. You won't be able to perform like a back handspring at that level because that's level 2. And then so all the way up to level 5. So there's basically just different skills and different tumbling in every category. So level 5 and level 6 were the highest last year. So you could do things like full twists in tumbling, and the stunts go much higher. There's much more tosses. So yeah, it's basically the higher level you go, the more dangerous it is, I'd say, just because you get like everything just gets higher, it gets harder. Yeah.
How long does it take you to kind of go through the levels? I mean, is it a quick process? Or is it something that it takes you a few years?
I think it really depends on the person. Like some people who start off doing gymnastics, they already have a lot of their core strength already, and like the tumbling techniques and stuff like that. So all they have to really learn how to do is like work with each other and stunting. So when I started out, I started on a level 1 team, and then I guess the more I put in, because I was constantly cheering, I was constantly learning new skills. So then I went to level 2, and then I think it's on your capability. So normally cheer programs have tryouts, and you try out depending on what your skills are. So I guess when you're with a for a while, you're constantly learning more, so your skills will just keep getting better and better, and you'll eventually start learning like the harder tumbling skills. So if you tried out with that, you would probably make like a level 5 team, and then it's just learning the stunts and things like that. So it just depends really.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Lexi. I've got a final question for you. What's been your favourite or greatest moment, do you think, in cheerleading?
There's so many. That's really hard because I've done this my whole life. But a few of them I'd say it's definitely the memories that you make with your cheer team, because you do become and I think all the trips that we've gone on, like we went to Rome to do the New Year's Day parade, we've been to Paris to do the New Year's Day parade, like competitions abroad. And I think just all of those trips, we're together and we're bonding together, and we're also doing something we all love. So it's so nice to be like surrounded by your family doing what you love. And probably one other thing is when we first went to restricted level 5, and we won at the biggest competition in the UK. So it was Bournemouth, and we won national champions. That was probably another great moment.
Oh, that's awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm also joined in the green room by Tyra as well. And Tyra, very good evening to you. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Brilliant. So, I mean, how did you get into cheerleading?
Well, I started with Valerie. How old was I? I was about 11, and I was always doing different stuff like karate, swimming. I was just always trying to get into something new, and I couldn't really find something that was my heart would take to. So then I joined. I think I saw a flyer in Camden, and I called Valerie, and I decided, why not give it a go? And then we just went from there.
Amazing. So, how many years have you been cheering then?
12.
Wow. Okay. Cool. What's been your favourite moment then? Would you say out of what you've been doing?
I've had so many, because I started off with these guys, and then I went into uni and I was cheering for my uni team. But it's definitely got to be maybe one of our competitions in Bournemouth or Southampton or something like that. Just literally going on the beach with the girls and then competing later on, and then it's just a laugh.
Brilliant. And so I'm interested to know then, further down the line, how has cheer affected what you do now? Having moved on, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I still do coaching here and there. I'm always happy to help. If Valerie's like, I need a coach ASAP, I'll always be there to help. So I don't think it's affected me as much, and I'll always look for like coaching jobs and stuff like that to get a bit of extra money, for example. And it's just something I love, so I just don't think I can ever give it up.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you, Tyra. I'm joined as well in the green room by I'm also joined by Jolie as well. So Jolie, a very good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right actually. Much better for this, because this is fantastic. I've learnt so much sort of looking through what you guys do and exploring. Because for me, cheer is a completely new thing. Until I saw it on Netflix a few months ago, I didn't know much about it at all. So this has been fantastic to kind of gain an insight and understand what you guys go through and what you've been through. How did you start with cheerleading?
So, long story short, I was basically probably about 12, and my mom forced me into tryouts. One day she came home and she basically was just like, oh, we're going out. And she was like, get dressed, put on some shorts. And then she dropped me off at a cheerleading camp and was like, you're going to try out. And me I wasn't athletic. I wasn't into any sports. I kind of was just at home. And it was kind of her way of trying to get me to be active. And so I ended up trying out, and I ended up making the team. And then I guess from there, I just fell in love, and I just continued with it from there.
Oh, amazing. So what have you done within cheer then? What roles do you fulfill in the team?
So on the team, I've been coach, I've been base, I've been a bit of manager, because I also started the cheerleading team at my university. And so I've kind of just done a little bit of everything within different teams that I've been on. And so within Valerie's team, I've coached as well as been an athlete. And then on my university's team, I've been coach, athlete, somewhat manager, I guess you'd say, but just a little bit of everything.
Brilliant. So what's it like seeing the kids that you've coached and brought through? What's it like seeing them kind of achieve what looks really spectacular to me?
Do you know what? It's nice to know that all the cheerleaders they probably won't give you this impression, but for a long time they disliked me as a coach. I was quite a strict coach, kind of just I knew I loved cheerleading, and I knew that in order to take it to a serious level, you had to be very serious about it. And when you're doing things like acrobatics and you're tossing people in the air, it has to be something that you take very seriously. And of course, we're all here to have fun, but you pretty much have someone's life in your hands. So it's kind of this thing that you have to take very seriously. So if girls fall out of a stunt, it means 50 push-ups. Everyone drops down, as you see in like a cheer. That's a standard example of what a practice looks like. And when you're 12 and you haven't dropped someone on purpose, you just cannot understand that logic, and you just think, God, this coach, if I could get rid of her, it'd be great. And so a lot of the girls, I think initially were kind of in this like love-hate relationship with me, but now I look at them and I see that like they're all these motivated and well educated and smart women, and they've just become great people. And it's just nice to know that those attributes that came from cheerleading have transitioned into their working lives and their just social lives as well.
But I mean, that's a really mature thing to have to sort of convey through, because you are taking the responsibility on, and you're right, like you said, you are taking their lives in their hands. So to have that understanding and to be able to do that is really quite something special. Possibly, I don't know if it's unique to cheerleading, but it's certainly, cheerleading for me seems to be one of the few sports that has that element to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think with cheerleading as well, because it's such a short routine. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds, unlike a football game where you have, and I don't watch football, but I want to say an hour, maybe an hour and a half to kind of come back from a goal that has been missed or whatever the case may be. And of course, you're still working as a team, but with cheerleading, it's like you have that 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and sometimes that's all you have. And if you're not working as a team and the energy is off, it could ruin the whole performance. And so I think it's really important that the bond is there and the energy is there, and just everyone is kind of on the same page as far as encouraging one another.
Definitely, because it was interesting talking to Sarah yesterday, and Sarah's got on her Instagram page a picture of some fails of some of the tosses that she's put up, and it was interesting talking to her because she was saying about committing, and like if the base doesn't fully commit to what they're going to do, then you can't pull out, because it's not about you, it's about the flyer. So you know, you can't go, I'm going to get hurt at this.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that happens. You have that happen, and sometimes you'll go into a practice and your mind is just not in the right place, and it's just all about, you know what, when I come into this practice room, I have to leave everything at the door, and I have to just be prepared to put in all the work that I can today. And of course, it's just like everything else in recognizing that today might not be the best day, but I need to give it all my effort.
Definitely. Well, when you were talking about being a coach, I could see Zara in the green room. She was smiling because you said about being a strict coach. Maybe I can jump across this and say hi to Zara and maybe find out maybe the other side of the coin on this. Zara, very good evening to you. How are you doing?
Hiya, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I saw you grinning. Maybe you could tell me a little bit what it's like to be maybe coached by Jolie.
It takes a lot of self-discipline to kind of not kick back. You kind of have to realize your faults and then take the punishment without talking back. So it is quite difficult, but it teaches you discipline and respect as well for your coaches and your team members and everything like that.
So maybe you can tell me a bit about what you've been through and what experience you've had out of cheer. What roles do you fulfil on the team?
So I've been bases, back spots. I've also coached, and I took it along with me to university, where I did a vice president role, which is the admin side of cheer, alongside. So yeah, just loads of different roles here and there.
What's backstop? Because I now know what a base is, but I don't know what backstop means.
Also, in some stunt groups, you've got the two bases and you've got a back spot, which is at the back of the stunt, holding ankles and stuff.
Brilliant. Well, there you go. Sorry, it was backstop. No, or was it back spot? Back spot. Sorry. Brilliant. So how did you get into cheer then?
So Valerie's my neighbour, and she's just really involved in the community. And I think one day I was just like, yeah, or maybe my mum, because my mum and her are friends, was just like, yeah, go along. And I've never looked back, really.
Brilliant. I've heard this actually said, and this is something that you guys mentioned when we've had a sort of a little meeting a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you could tell me a bit about Valerie and her role as a community role model.
Yeah, so Valerie is kind of like a mum to every single one of us. She takes care of us. She's a coach, and in her capacity as a coach, she's strict, but then she also has her soft side with us. She also works with our local community and finds loads of different opportunities for us to do. Even now as an adult, she still takes care of us and makes sure that those opportunities are still open for anything that we want to do. And if we need anything, we literally just hit Valerie up, and she's got all these links and connections that we can kind of thrive off as well.
Oh, that's amazing, because it's so important to find people like that to help out, because they're few and far between, I can tell you. So you're really lucky to have Valerie. That's amazing to hear. So I mean, now that I think you've gone past university, have you? You've graduated, is that right?
Yes, I've graduated with my undergrad. I'm currently doing my master's, and both in my undergrad and at my master's, I've done 2 different cheerleading teams with the universities. So it's definitely been a good skill to come and take with me as well.
I was going to say, I mean, is there anything particular that you can think of that Cheer has kind of given you to help you with your studies?
It's that time management. You do have to manage your time, because practice takes a lot of your time, your energy, your effort. So it's time management, and it's socializing skills as well. I wouldn't really have that many friends if it wasn't for Cheer at university. So it gives you those communication skills as well, and bonding as well. So yeah, it's definitely equipped me with skills for life.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you. That's brilliant to hear. And we've actually had, there's another member of your team called Jess, who couldn't be with us tonight, but she did email in. And I've got, let's see, I've got Jess's email here, actually, and I can read out what she replied to us, because I thought it was really important to share her story as well. So we asked Jess on email, and we said, why did you start cheerleading? And Jess said, I started cheerleading because when I was young, I'd watched all of the Bring It On movies, and after reciting all the cheers, I knew I wanted to compete. Now, I loved everything about cheer, the costumes, the routines, the competitions, and being very close friends with my team, which always felt more like a family. I still remember walking into Calthorpe for my first ever practice and Valerie saying, oh great, she can be a flyer. Now, at the time, I had no clue what that meant, but I was so excited to get stuck in and tell my friends at school the next day. For me, cheer was an escape. It was somewhere I could go to forget about everything else going on at the time. It distracted me in a positive light, disciplined me, and also taught me many lifelong skills. And so we also asked Jess then in our email, we said, what have been your favourite moments? And Jess said this, she said, my favourite moments were always competing at international competitions, as we would work so hard perfecting our routines so that we could perform on those mats in front of the judges. The blood, sweat and tears were always worth it. And so then we asked Jess, what have been your greatest challenges? And Jess said, personally, I believe my greatest challenge was always my lack of self-belief, and I'm sure Val will agree. I would always talk myself out of something before trying it because of the fear of failing. But cheer helped give me that confidence to try new things. And finally, we asked Jess, we said, how has cheerleading affected your life outside of cheerleading, and what are you doing now, and how has your experience with cheerleading helped you to do this? Now, and Jess replied, she said, I'm now an estate agent based in central London. I believe cheerleading has helped me to understand that anything is possible, providing you work hard for it. The biggest benefit I've found in cheerleading is that it's helped me with preparing me for failure. The industry I work in can be extremely stressful, with offers falling through or buyers pulling out at the last minute. Cheer mentally prepared me how to lose gracefully and to understand that a failure should be a learning experience and fuel for the fire of wanting success in the future. So Jess, thank you so much for replying to our email and getting involved. It's great to hear how Cheer has inspired you and helped you. So wonderful, thank you very much. I'm going to come back across to Valerie, because there's one last person who tried to make it into our room tonight, but unfortunately didn't have an internet signal. So Valerie, I think you might have Stephanie on the phone for us as well. Maybe we could have a quick chat. Hopefully, Stephanie, you can hear me. How are you doing?
Yeah. Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can very well, actually. Fantastic. This is really fun.
Yes.
We've never done this before with a phone through video conferencing. But great to have you on the program tonight. Tell me, how did you get into cheer?
Oh, well, cheerleading has been my lifelong obsession since I was a small child, and I first saw cheerleaders on TV. I was still in nursery. I was obsessed. I thought they were the coolest. My favorite episode of any TV show would be the one with the cheerleaders in it. My favorite movies are the one with cheerleaders in it. And yeah, I just did not stop bothering my parents that I wanted to be a cheerleader until they found a cheer team for me to join. And I honestly would just Google cheerleading teams in England or in London, like all the time. And then eventually I searched it up and I found one based near me. So my mum rang them up, and then I came to practice one day, and then that was it. I've literally never stopped doing it ever since.
Brilliant.
So I stopped when I was 14, but I think from like the age of 5 or 6, I was like heavily interested in doing it, but it took me a very long time to actually find a team in a location that was, close enough for my parents to take me and for me to attend practices.
Sure. So, I mean, Stephanie, what's been your favourite moment out of cheer? Maybe you've got quite a few, but is there one in particular?
My favourite moment or memory?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think for me, one of my biggest and best achievements through cheerleading was being able to move to America for a year and actually cheer with one of the top programs over there. So they're called Top Gun All Stars, and they're based out in Florida. And I remember when I first started doing competitive cheerleading, I would watch videos of them online, and I'd be like, wow, Top Gun is so cool. Imagine being on a team like that. Never thought it would happen, but I ended up moving to America for a year to do a Disney thing with Disney World. And while I was there, I actually visited the Top Gun gym a couple of times, and then eventually I just said to them, like, hey, do you have a team for me? Like, can I actually join? And the coach was like, we'd love to have you. And that was it. I ended up competing for them for a season, and that was sort of like a dream come true, being able to do that. And yeah, that's probably like my favorite memory through cheerleading. But I have honestly so many.
Oh, amazing. And I think just a final question for you, Stephanie. What's been your greatest challenge that you've faced through cheerleading?
I have to think about that, because I feel like in different parts of my life, I face different challenges with cheerleading. I think when I was younger, when I first started out and I was a kid, my challenge was sort of confidence. And then as I got a little bit older and I was sort of the same age as some of the coaches, my challenge was accepting that authority from someone who's also my peer. I think Anjali spoke about that earlier, but I used to have a hard time having her coach me because we were also friends and we were also quite close in age. So that was one challenge back then. And I think now that I'm an adult, some of my challenges I face are just because I've been doing it for so long and how cheer has evolved and progressed so much. It's sort of like keeping up with how it is now. I think that's sort of my current challenge.
Brilliant. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much, and thank you so much for ringing in and being part of the program tonight. It's been great to chat to you.
Pleasure.
I mean,
thank you. Pleasure.
No problem. Thank you. So, I mean, Valerie, now I've got you back on the screen as well. When I spoke with you before, I know that one of the biggest challenges that you faced at the moment is the need for space to rehearse in. And we've actually got a video of Infinity Elite performing now in the streets. So let's have a look at that. So hi again, Valerie. Can you tell me a bit more about your need for a space and a place to call home then?
But there's not one that we found that we can call home, that we can have a proper gym where we have the floor already laid down and the kids can come to practice. We have to lug our mats out, and normally it's like 9 mats, but that you need to have a floor, and we have 2, that we have space for 2 mats. So they're not getting the full practice time and not getting the full atmosphere of what they need to do when they're actually competing. So it is sad that, I mean, we all work together to get the room prepared, but at the same time, it would be nice that as an athlete, you had that space. Like football, you have so many football pitches and, you know, they could just go there and practice. But sometimes we need to like lug everything out and put everything back. Like I said, we had a gymnastics instructor, Theo, and he has the same issue where wherever his space is, he needs to lug his mats out and bring them back in. And, you know, that's a lot of work just before even getting to practice. So my goal, and a lot of my cheerleaders' goal, is to have a space dedicated for cheerleading, but not only for cheerleading, but for other athletic sports like gymnastics, or bringing other young people in to be able to train as well, but to share that space with all kind of athletes that need that space. But to have our main space, to call it our home, and that way, as our athletes grow and get older, they know that that's their space to come to. And if they want to run a class or bring other members in, they'll have the opportunity because they have that space for themselves to call their home, their cheerleading home.
Yeah, because I mean, I imagine I can see clearly that, you know, for some groups and for some clubs, it's not as much of an issue. But for you guys at the level that you're at, you know, things like getting and preparing the floor is going to be a massive disadvantage for you guys compared to other clubs working at the level, because yeah, you need to be focused on doing the job and seeing that, and that's really key if we can do that. So that'd be a great aim. Is there anything else you'd like to sort of plan for the future that you've got within the group?
Well, I have to say, for the last few years, I haven't had all my squads. I have just a recreational team right now, as where before I had a youth, junior, and senior team, and a co-ed team, where I took a bit of a break because I used to put 110% of my life into my girls' cheerleading team and to all the young athletes that took part in it, where it gets a bit difficult when you're dealing with not only the cheerleaders, but the families, and the different dynamics can sometimes be a bit overwhelming. So I thought, as my children were getting older, and as my team was only up to a level 2, because our facility only allows us really to have that amount of space for a level 2 team, and we're pushing at it. As my young daughters were getting older, I knew that their levels were higher than what I could offer them. So I looked for other teams for them so they'd be able to compete at their ability. And the gyms are the size, you know, where they can excel in their levels. So that's what I moved them to outside London to be on. One was on Ascension Eagles and one was on Marshalls. And they went to level 4 and 5 teams. They've gone to Worlds in Florida. So my aim is to bring a new generation of young people. I've had a lot of my cheerleaders that are older now saying, you know, don't give it up. Bring, you know, the new younger generation in and give them what you gave us. And although I feel now that I have all this support, because at some point my coaches that are online now and other coaches that I have, which I call all my daughters and sons, they can support that whenever they want. They can come back because they always have that drive that they want to do a bit of cheer. And before I was doing it alone with young people, and now I have a lot of adult coaches, and which we want to train more. Where we are working with Urban Community, where I do the food bank. I'm working with them to set up a course to train young athletes and pay for the credentialing so they can get their qualifications to teach. So I'm constantly thinking of better ways to support them. And also, when they are at uni, they have a side job to teach cheerleading, and it's a better way to get employment and doing something that you're passionate about. So my mind is constantly ticking of how I can support them, and still it is a passion of mine, cheerleading, even though I'm not the athlete. Just seeing them grow from it is fulfilling for me. So that's what I want to continue, have like a space for them and continue with their education in cheerleading and safety. And not only that, but the life skills that they have received from it, even continuing education, going to university, getting jobs, always aspiring to want more. All those things I want to continue and have them lead the next generation to do that as well.
I think that's so important. It really does shine through when I look at what you guys have achieved, and speaking to everybody in the green room tonight. It's clear that you do have that drive, and it's not something that you start off and then it disappears. It's something that carries right through. And once you come out of the athletic side, you can then coach and bring on the next generation, and that's really, really important. I think in today's society that we've got that helping and the community spirit that goes with that, the family spirit through. It's really inspiring to hear that and to see that. So thank you. Now, I mean, one of the reasons that we're talking about, the reason that you need space to rehearse as well, is also because at 161 Light, we've asked them to be part of our upcoming project in King's Cross Station. And now this project is going to be a festival of light where we're going to project over the roof of the station. We'll also have a pyramid of light around which we'll be inviting groups and artists to perform around that installation. Now, we absolutely loved, as I said, what Infinity Elite are doing. And as well as the fact that they're local to Camden, we thought it would be just perfect they could join in the project and be part of that. However, as we said, we did mention that there are currently some restrictions on the Infinity Elite, like the lack of space to train in. So if you'd like to help support Infinity Elite and allow them to be part of the King's Cross project through sponsorship, then please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. And obviously you could really help develop these guys in their journey and train the next generation of younger people. So I'm just going to have a quick look through the comments that we've had tonight on the live feed, which is always quite exciting. And I know that we've had quite a few actually. So it's really cool to see. Sam says, "Oh, it seems like an awesome team, inspiring stuff." And Stephanie also says, "Amazing. The trust and teamwork is fantastic. I love the way you describe yourself as a family." So that's really cool to hear. So I think it's clearly shining through, and you're saying people outside are picking up what you're saying as well. So that's great to hear. So if you have commented and liked the program tonight, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. If you'd like to stay in touch and hear more about our future projects, about music and features, do make sure you hit the like button on the One City One Light Facebook page. And obviously we'll keep you updated with how London Infinity Elite get on as well in their journey. And we'll keep you updated on there. And obviously, as well as Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter and Twitch. So do subscribe to those channels and stay in touch with us. But otherwise, it just really remains for me to say a huge thank you to all of our guests tonight on our One City One Light Spotlight feature. So a huge thank you, Valerie, to you and to the whole team for being part of this tonight. I really appreciate the time and the stories that you shared with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So I've been your host, Richard, and look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a great evening and good night.